Hi, everybody. It's Mike from Here the Watchmen, and we're back to you today with a wonderful, wonderful guest. This guy, I mean, talk about someone who's really serving the remnant body of Christ. It's Mr. Ross Powell. Ross, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on. It's always great to be here.
Well, Ross, you've got a couple of businesses going on down there. You've got, of course, your survival 401k, and then you also you're training dogs. Your wife is training dogs to be helpers when the grid goes down. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes. So Survival 401k is our financial arm, but then also for Remnant Buddy, but also we're doing Remnant Canine 360. And Jill's the head of that. She's the face of the business on that one. And it's really a great opportunity for people to train their puppies. I think you said you have a 12-week-old puppy. That would be a great opportunity to get into basic obedience and or with our 360 boot camp, and you can do it yourself instruction for the dog. So it's all online streaming. You can stream it to your computer, your tablet, to your phone, even listen to the audio while you're driving. So it's a great thing for your dog. And so many people don't have the time to go on the weekends or the weekday and spend an hour and travel. Oh, there she is. Oh, beautiful dog, a border collie and border collie or anything else.
Yep, it's a little border collie, and she's about 12 weeks old, and we're gonna FedEx her to you
All
so
right.
you
Well,
can train her.
I what we'll do is we'll send you. I'm going to send you a complimentary link to the 360 boot camp, so you can train that puppy in the way it should go, and it would never stray from it. Right? It's like the old proverb, right? So you're just kind of using that from a human to a dog, and you can actually train your puppy the way it should go, and it will never stray from it. So you get her started early, and with this training, you can actually get her ready to do scent detection and a patrol for your property and all kinds of really cool stuff. So it's a great opportunity. In fact, Jill's just started to volunteer for Canines for Christ, and so she's going to be working as a volunteer along with myself and take our dog Haley. That's a really great dog, and she'll go out and go to help special needs kids or go to nursing homes or hospitals, to encourage people and bring them some hope. So we're really excited about this new partnership with Canines for Christ as well. So it's a
Well,
growing concern.
I'll tell you what, Ross. I mean, I am just absolutely amazed at how smart this border collie is. They're a great breed,
Oh,
and up
absolutely.
here, she chases the other dog, nipping the other dog on the back legs because they're herders. I mean,
Right.
that's what they're bred to be is herders. We're thrilled to death if we can just finally get her to go to the bathroom outside. That would be wonderful. We're
Well,
still going through that house training thing a little
well,
bit
how
with
long
her,
do you need to take this
but
thing?
she's getting there. She's getting there. So Ross, I mean, what is going on in the world today? What is going on with the economy? I mean, it's up, it's down. I mean, the stock market. I mean, you've seen the shifts. What do you advise people to do right now?
Well, I think one is not panic. I mean, the economy is hitting on all cylinders. Unemployment is way down. I mean, we're the best in 30, 40 years. The unemployment numbers and or the first time benefits people are way down. Black unemployment is way down. And I just saw a story this morning that the Feds are running a first surplus the first month of this year with the new tax cut. So the tax dollars are coming in and it's blowing the doors off. So the economy's doing really well. These tax cuts are working for companies. They're giving their employees bonuses. They're increases in their pay. They're bringing money back from overseas. They're doing a lot of building and with headquarters and things. So it's doing it. The economy is going really well. Now there's patches where people are still suffering, and there's certain parts of the country where the economy is in shatters. I mean, look at Illinois and a few others that are still hurting. And it's going to once when you run a state into the ground with their, well, I don't want to say communist, but with their very progressive socialist ideals, you just find that this doesn't work. You just can't make money out of thin air. So companies are leaving. So, but from a stock market perspective, we saw that on 2 Fridays ago, we saw the 666 number. It was actually six six. It was 665.75 was a real number, but people rounded up to 666 for the dramatic effect. And then money went down 1,000 and then went down again. And then the plunge protection team stepped in and the Fed and everybody started buying stocks and it's back up again. And then today it's down. So you're just going to see volatility, but don't judge the economy by the stock market, because most rank and file people aren't in it. And so many people don't have pensions. They don't have 401ks or IRAs. And so again, focus on saving your money, focus on reducing your expenses so you have an emergency fund. That's the big thing, because I've seen a lot of stories where a huge portion of the population couldn't even cover $1,000 emergency. Right. So that's terrible. And it's even worse in the millennial ranks. And so you need to focus on getting an emergency fund, set your money aside, make sure you have storable food, you have water, you have, things to take care of. So if the grid goes down, or if you have a prolonged disaster of any kind, I mean, you're in, I guess, volcano area, or the geysers, or earthquake can happen. I mean, you're out of the fire from California, but there's always earthquakes, there's storms. So you need to have one, emergency supplies, but also emergency cash. So, I mean, that's the real key, in my opinion, at this point.
Well, Ross, I mean, it's interesting because back when I worked on Wall Street, there was a guy by the name of Tony Dow, who was a analyst for Dean Witter, and he predicted that the Dow would go to 10,000 by 2000. And look at where it is today. I mean, the thing is, it's not timing the market; it's time in the market. I mean, and I think people get afraid when they see these big dips. But you know what? No one loses money if you don't sell. You're not losing money. Is that right?
Well, I mean, depending on the longevity. I mean, just since the 2008 crash and all the money that was lost, from there in 2009 up to 10, people are just now getting back to where they were. So they lost 10 years. Now, you didn't lose money if you didn't sell, but you didn't grow either. So you can't get those 10 years back, right? So this 2,000, 3,000 point that it's jumped since Trump was inaugurated is huge, but not everybody's benefiting from it. So again, it can just, what goes up comes down, and the market is so overbought, it's so overvalued from a P&E ratio perspective, that when you're looking at 30 to 1, 40 to 1 on these P&E ratios, price to earnings, that when it's traditionally been, 12 to 15 to 1, you're way overpriced. And so people that bought Bitcoin at 17 are really sucking wind. And I had customers that wanted to buy in it. I told them not to, because it's way too high. There's, again, it's just another fiat currency. Yeah, it's a world changing, and I think cryptos are here to stay, and it's not going to go away. But you're seeing, since Bitcoin dropped significantly down into 8,500, and during the crash last week, Monday, Tuesday, it dipped below 6,000. It went to 5,950 before it bounced up. Today it's at 5,800, but it's moving in a very narrow range, just like a market is. So you're not seeing these great big run-ups or these rundowns. It's all in a very tight band, a series of bands. So you have Ethereum, Litecoin. There's a bunch of other speculative coins out there that people are making money on. But if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you're going to get trapped and lose a bunch of money. So my recommendation is, don't sell your gold to buy crypto. Put money in crypto that you can afford to lose, and it's not going to change your trajectory of your retirement or your daily life.
Well, let's talk for a minute, Ross, if you will, on crypto. I mean, there is nothing that backs crypto other than supply and demand. I mean, there's no company there. There's no breakup value to it. There's nothing. It's purely all funded by greed. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, well, greed and speculation, which generally is greed. And so there's nothing backing it other than people believe in the technology. Now, there are several companies out there that are using the blockchain technology. I think Tron is one of them. I think is ETN. And there's a few others that are tied to payment systems, and the Chinese are really adopting it. And other parts of Asia are really adopting. Many in South Korea and Japan don't do anything other than using their phone. They pay with their phone. So any technology that's going to leverage the payment systems and utilizing mobile technology, and we have huge early adopters in Asia, the chances are you're going to make a lot of money with that. But the pure speculative ones, I mean, Bitcoin's, that's the baseline. But again, the money that was going to be made in Bitcoin's probably been made already. So you can get into it. But again, answer your question, it's nothing backs it. It's fiat, just like anything else. it's based on the faith and belief system that Bitcoin is revolutionary. So again, and many people I talk with, Stephen Minking, he's got a new crypto fund out, and again, they're investing in ones that actually have companies that actually have a real use that people can use. So I mean, a real functional use long term, and so that's where the money can be made in that. Just doing a speculation is a good way to lose your shirt, in my opinion.
Well, Ross, I mean, so let's look at like our generation, right? We're the old folks now. We have a 401k. How can we own Bitcoin in our 401k?
Not if you're with somebody like Fidelity or T. Rowe Price or Schwab in a traditional 401k, like through a company or whatever. If you have an IRA, there's ways to get around it. But within our company now, we've created a new product called our crypto 401k, and it allows you to take your funds out of traditional 401ks at Fidelity or T. Rowe Price or Schwab and roll it into ours. And then we create another company that's owned by your 401k that actually invests in the crypto. So it just makes it's cleaner when you go to the different exchanges or Coinbase or Gemini or was it Bitnance or Bit something or another. There's a whole litany of all these different uh, exchanges you can go to, but it's very difficult because of regulation for them to approve just your straight 401k account. So when you have an LLC owned by the 401k doing your bidding, when it's still tax deferred, it makes it a lot cleaner, a lot easier for you to get it done. So we have that product now, and it's a really great highlight to our traditional solo 401k that we use for metals and land. And in fact, you can use the crypto 401k for all the same things. It just gives you more flexibility and ease of doing business.
But let's take a look at this for a second, Ross, if you will.
Sure.
Let's take metals, gold and silver, physical gold and
Right.
physical silver versus cryptocurrency. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who have bought gold and have been disappointed because it hasn't gone down, but it really hasn't gone up that much. So what do people do who are sitting on a large amount of gold? I mean, what percentage should they put in cryptocurrency? And I know you're not an investment advisor, and we're just talking here out loud. But what percentage do you think that people should be into crypto?
I mean, it depends on your level of your tolerance for risk, right? Many people that own gold own it because they don't like staying up at night watching the market go up and down. And if you don't have a high tolerance for risk, and you don't have the stones for it, so to speak, then crypto is not your play, right? So, but I mean, again, people that look at gold as a pure investment, think you're going to get growth out of it, are looking at it completely wrong. Gold is life insurance for your portfolio, because every time there's been a reset worldwide and there's been empires come and go and fall, gold and silver have always been the go-to mediums to restart an economy in ways of exchanging, services for money or whatever. So that's in a life assurance policy. So you have a certain amount of the gold metals in there. So if you're sitting on all of your money sitting in gold or silver, then you need to diversify anyway, because you can't put all your even golden eggs in one basket. So depending on what the amount is, if you can lose 10%, let's say you have $100,000 in gold you're sitting on, literally, then you can take 10% of that, put that 10 grand into some cryptocurrencies, and or have somebody or into a fund like what Stephen has, and I believe it's called the Genesis Fund. But anyway, so that money would let somebody else manage it if you don't have the stones to do it on a daily basis. If you have the wherewithal to do it on a daily basis, then you can manage it and it can be fun. But if you're afraid of losing that 10 grand, it's going to change your life and change the trajectory of your retirement, I wouldn't do it. But there's other things you can get your money that grows it, but I wouldn't put all my money into metals, because it's just you're going backwards. Now, if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and I wish I knew how to way to sell hand baskets in that case, then you would actually you would that gold and silver you would be in the catbird seat going forward. But you can't live your life thinking every day is going to be the end. So otherwise, you lose lots of opportunities, and you have a certain percentage sitting back that's always you're going to fall back on when everything else is burning. You have the food, the water, the weapons, the ammo, and the metals to rely on long term. long as you have a roof over your head, right? So that it's just I can't answer each question. I can't answer that question broadly because each individual has their own needs and they own their own set of risk taking skills, right? So I personally don't have the stones for watching go up and down daily, and it just makes me nuts, right? So I buy things and just let it sit. So but other people really enjoy it, and so they get a kick out of trading it. And I have 30 something friends on a Telegram group. They're called the Crypto Hustle. I call them the Crypto Crackheads because they never sleep. I mean, they're watching this stuff, but they've made several of these members have made over $1 million in crypto just in 2017 with like a $10,000 investment. So the money's there in the Wild West, but again, think about the tax hits and things like that you're going to get because there's a lot. Even though the IRS has not put a lot of guidance out, I can guarantee because all the money that's awash in the crypto realm, the government wants their piece. I can guarantee that, and they will get it brutally.
Well, I mean, I guess, Ross, what I mean sort of worries me about the crypto market is that it's a millennial driven device. I mean, I have a stepson who's a senior in college at UCLA, and he's totally into it.
Right.
And I mean, it is that millennial that drives this. And we both know, I mean, we were young once. I mean, we know how fickle that is. I mean, do you fear that that this whole market is being driven by these young people, and at some point they're just going to go away?
I don't necessarily because they're so tied to their technology and their phones. I mean, there is a small movement of young people that are getting away from smartphones and going back to like a flip phone and just untethering themselves to the matrix, right? But the majority of them are not. So anything that's driven by technology that's mobile and has something to do with your phone, I think it's going to be a long time. But I think these latest shakeups of the crypto world has I guess culled the herd at a certain level. So you have pretty much the true believers and the really adopters are still there and they're still pushing it. So there's a lot of regulation probably coming. I mean, most recently the SEC had hearings in front of Congress, and the head of the SEC and another consumer group were in front of Congress, and they said they're going to start regulating, but that's not going to be brutal. So they're just trying to reel people in because some people have gotten really hosed and lost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, it is young people driven. But I know a lot of people our age that are really big into it have made a lot of money as well. So it crosses many generations, but the young people are more tech savvy than old farts like us, right? So they're really big into it, and they can stay up all night and watch that and still get up to go to work the next day, where you and I would be dragging our left leg down the hallway trying to get to work. So it's not for the faint-hearted. That's all I got to say. But it's a great opportunity to make a ton of money. It's the Wild West. Just recognize that it's the Wild West, and so you get in a gunfight, you either win or lose. Right? There's no middle ground, generally speaking.
That's well said. I mean, that's very well said. Now, let's take a look for a second at the taxation. I mean, the government is going to want their piece.
Oh,
I mean, yeah. I'm sure they have entire floors at the IRS dedicated to trying to figure out how to regulate Bitcoin. But for now, let's say you invest $1,000 in Bitcoin. It goes up, you make $1,000. Now you're at $2,000. What happens to that if you sell it? Where's the taxation on that?
Well, it depends on how long you hold it. So if you hold it for less than a year and you sell, let's say it goes up in 2 weeks and you sell it in 2 weeks and you double your money in 2 weeks. Well, that's going to be taxed at ordinary income rates. It's not a capital gain. So you're going to get short-term capital gain tax, which is basically your income level, whatever your band is, right? Your tax rate. If you hold it for over a year, then you're going to be at that 15 to 20% capital gains rate. And again, your accountant can figure that out for you. I'm not an accountant or a lawyer, and I really don't play one on TV either. But at the end of the day, you have to, be the long-term holding, you're going to be okay. Now, here's the real part that's going to bite people in the backside. Let's say you take that Bitcoin or that Ethereum or whatever, and you trade your Bitcoin for Ethereum. Let's say you bought that $1,000 of Bitcoin and went to 2. So then you bought the Ethereum and you got, they're $800 a pop. So you got a lot more pieces of Ethereum than you do Bitcoin because you only had a portion of Bitcoin. Now that when you trade it up, so to speak, to get more Ethereum, that's a taxable transaction. So you just got hit with capital gains, short term or long term. So every time you trade that coin, there's a tax hit. Or let's say you use your Ethereum to buy something, where some places are taking Bitcoin to pay your taxes or to pay a vendor. That's that's a taxable transaction to you, because whatever you made for, well, let's say again, you bought it at one, it's now at two, and you spent $500 of it to buy a something particular item, right? That $500 transaction is now taxable at the short-term tax rate. So the amount of record keeping that you have to keep for each transaction. So let's say you're day trading in Bitcoin, right? You're familiar with day trading, being on Wall Street. Every time you make these trades with Bitcoin, it's instantaneously taxed, especially if you're making money at it. So the sheer volume of your trade data that you have to keep, it's not like trading stocks where it's completely different, and it's going to be taxed completely different, because they see it not as a security, they see it as a property, for instance. So it's the tax consequences are going to be brutal once the IRS figures out a way to track people. And I saw a story on Drudge again this morning where majority of Americans aren't reporting that tax. And once the IRS figures out how to get it, if you don't report that income, you're gonna get popped with the penalties and interest and everything else. And not to mention, who's to say that if you're not reporting, current your crypto earnings, why wouldn't you be lying about something else? And they go and give you a full blown audit, and then you don't want that double-digit exam from the IRS, because it's not going to be pretty.
But don't you think, Ross, I mean, that the IRS and the government is going to get their hands around this cryptocurrency market? And it, like you said, right now, it's like the Wild West. I mean, it's like where we live. Anything goes. But I think that they're going to get their hands around this, and there's going to be some pain involved with that. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is billions and billions of dollars that are trading every day. So, and I think the first start when they put the cryptocurrencies on the CME, where the futures board, that's where the bankers just started manipulating it. And I was talking to my friends on the crypto Telegram, and they basically are saying that all the futures contract, that just gives the cartel essentially ability to manipulate all the cryptos now. So everybody thought it was going to be legitimacy. It just brought corruption and manipulation to the market. And so you're seeing some correlations. When the market goes in the tank and takes a big dump, so does Bitcoin, so does Ethereum, and so does Litecoin, and Ripple. I mean, Ripple was a huge coin, and it went from like 18 cents to over $3, and it made some multimillionaires. Not right now, they're probably thousandaires now, right? So it could be amazingly that you can get in and get out, and if you can get in and put it back into U.S. dollars and take that money, then you had a great deal. But if you suddenly you're a millionaire on crypto, and overnight it drops by 50%, suddenly you're not a millionaire anymore. So you just need to be cautious and take your winnings and don't get greedy. I mean, the old market adage of bears eat and bulls eat, but hogs get slaughtered, still stands the same reason in Bitcoin or in Ethereum or in Litecoin or these other. There's over, I think, 2,000 and something cryptocurrencies now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, back in the day, like when we used to have pay phones that you put a quarter into, I think actually when I started using pay phones, I think they were a dime.
Right.
And then it went up to a quarter, but back then, when I was working for Dean Witter on Wall Street, Berkshire Hathaway came out, and Berkshire Hathaway at the time was like $10,000 a share. And we all thought like, oh, that is ridiculous. It can never go up from there. I mean, this is a lose-lose situation. It's now like $230,000, $240,000 a share.
Right.
So do you see the crypto market going that way?
I mean, a lot of people predict that it could go to 100,000. I mean, there's all kind of people hawking gold. Say gold's going to be at $10,000 an ounce. I mean, again, everybody's got an opinion, right? So I don't know. I mean, some people really think it is. In the near term, I don't think so. It depends on the adoption rate and how it all shakes out, and what kind of regulation and what kind of corruption gets brought into it. Because it's, again, where it's just right on the upward trend, and we're not really anywhere near adoption on the general population. Once we get to that, then that's all bets are off. But at this point, it's all early adopters and I guess you would call them just speculators at this point. Because people
Now,
think they can
look,
make a fast buck.
let's talk for a minute about the fact you're going to be at Hear the Watchman in Dallas, March 22nd through the 25th. Folks, go to hearthewatchman.com. Ross will be there to answer any and all questions that you have about your investment portfolio. But Ross, tell us a little bit about what is Survival 401k. What is your company all about?
Sure. I mean, Survival 401k came around, I guess, 2014, and we've been around going on. We'll be celebrating our 4th year this year, which you're pretty excited about. But essentially, what we're doing is we help people get their assets out of Wall Street and into hard assets or alternative investments like crypto or gold and silver or rental properties or bug out locations, ammo, anything that you have a hard asset, anything that has a fair market value, you can invest in. And it allows you to diversify your portfolio, because I talk with people saying, well, my portfolio is fully diverse. I said, how do you mean? Well, I have ETFs and I have bonds and I have mutual funds and I have individual stocks. I said, that's not diversified. That's all still inside the walls of Wall Street. So getting some of your money outside of Wall Street and into hard assets that you can lean on in event of a major collapse is very important. And so we almost take it almost like a mosaic type of approach, where Moses had land and animals and gold and silver and all this kind of stuff. So you have hard assets that have been around for 6,000 years, and it always at a certain level hold their value, even especially in a collapse situation, and you see some reset or turmoil or things like that. Because if you look around our country politically, we're in a de facto state of civil war, and who's to say where that's going to go, right? And so the hatred for Trump never ends, even though the things he's doing, people are equating him to Reagan, and that makes the left rent their garments because they hated Reagan as well. So as we continue to see growth and we continue prosperity in this country, I think his ability for a second term is pretty much assured, because it's the economy, stupid. It always comes back to that. It's about the money. Follow the money. So I think we can, with Survival 401k, is a long answer to a short question, is that we allow you to take your money and take control of it yourself, where you are the plan administrator, you're the fiduciary, and you're the trustee. So you decide everything. And if you don't know what you're doing, I can help you and I can guide you. I have a litany of a stable of people that we vetted, whether they're a financial advisor, they're metals dealers, there's real estate people, there's attorneys, there's accountants, everybody that's been vetted that can help you. And for the most part, they're all fellow believers. So it's Christians doing work with Christians and keeping your money inside the kingdom. Because if you look at the frequency of money, there's been studies how many times a dollar passes between different people in different religions. In the Muslim world, a dollar passes about 40 to 50 times before it goes back into the world. Within the Jewish community, it's about 25 to 30. Guess what it is for Christians? One to one. So
we
never spend money inside our own groups, because at the end of the day, we're very much, I would just say, splintered, and we have all our different denominations and belief systems, and and we eat our own young. We cannibalize ourselves and throw each other under the bus on a regular basis. Where the Muslims don't do that, and the Jewish people generally don't do that either. And I'm just talking about Western religions yet. There's no data on Hindus or Buddhists or anything like that. But on the Western religions, or the one from Abrahamic religions, the Christians are the worst, because they just deal with the world. They don't deal with each other, generally speaking. And maybe because we're much a larger group of people.
I guess, Ross, what you've put together with Survival 401k is kind of an umbrella to shield you from what might come. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. But it doesn't bury your head in the sand. So we give you ways to protect yourself, but at the same time, not cloister yourself and look up and think the sky is falling every day. Because I've had people, and I was at fault for a while too. I was doing everything just thinking that the world's going to collapse tomorrow, and you can't live that way. It's all fear-based. I'm not fear-based. It's not fear-based. It's just being pragmatic and taking a long-term approach to what you're doing and taking control of your money, because you've been told all your life that you're too stupid to manage your money. You need to give it to these people. who make money, even though you lose money, they still make their money, right? They still get their fees, but you're sitting there holding the bag. With this way, you take positive control of your money and you decide where it wants to go, and you deal with other people that you want to deal with, and you don't have to buy into stocks or things that are against your political beliefs or your religious beliefs. You're not going to buy Target. You're not going to buy Walgreens now that's changing their bathroom policy. You're not going to be part of those stocks that you don't believe in. So you can actually take control of what you want to do, live your faith through your finances as well. And you can do your prepping with your retirement funds, and I call it pre-tax prepping, because your pre-tax dollars can actually go and buy your storable foods. They can buy your water. They can buy your guns and ammo. All that stuff can be done, and it's all pre-tax. So you're not going to pay tax on it until the balloon goes up at the end of the day. When everything goes to hell in a handbasket, then you'll have it. Then you'll end up having to pay the tax on it later, but you won't be paying it up with after-tax dollars on the front end, which helps people's budgets quite frankly.
Now, Ross, say someone who's listening to this show wants to get a hold of you. How do they find you? What's your website? How do they get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. I mean, you just go to survival401k.com. It's survival401k.com. You can hit us on the contact page there. There's a little box that pops up. You can set up an appointment right there online, or you can call us. It's 844-650-5733. And again, 844-650-5733, and their phone rings in here. And I guarantee you, everybody that calls will talk to me for at least 30 minutes on a free consultation. And then from there, we look at your aspirations, what your needs are, whether you qualify, and then we'll help you move your money out of where you're afraid for it every day to where you know where you can either touch it or drive out to it or eat it if necessary on a bad day.
Well, there you have it, folks. Survival401k.com. Go there, check out what Ross is doing. You won't regret it. Ross, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great being with you, and I look forward to seeing you and Jeannie in March. Should be fun.
Yep, we'll be there March 22nd through the 25th at the Hilton DFW Executive Lake Conference Center and Hotel. I'm laughing, folks, because I butcher that every time I do it. But it's right there in Great Run, Texas, 5 minutes from the airport, 24-hour shuttle to and from the airport to the hotel. You want to be there. It'll change your life. Hear the Watchmen, MEN.com. Go there today. Until we see you next time here on the Watchmen's Report, God bless each and every one of you. Remember, there is nothing you can't do with Jesus in your heart. Nothing you can't do, except nothing at all. So get out there, get busy, activate your faith, and get busy moving into this next year. God bless each and every one of you. We'll talk to you next time here on the Watchmen's Report.